Thanks for dropping by. Let's get straight into this.
Greek police using masked migrants to forcibly push other migrants back across the border. I mean, if you can't beat them, join them. But
Uh, based. I mean, I don't think it's maybe a solution everywhere, but I mean, if it's going to work in the immediate short term, I mean, it's kind of similar to what obviously Rome was starting to do, I suppose, getting mercenaries to deal with some of the problems. So something to maybe be wary of in the long term, but short term could be a credible solution.
police in Greece have been recruiting migrants to violently push other migrants back across its land border with Turkey, according to wide ranging evidence uncovered by the BBC. We have seen internal police documents in which guards describe how the recruitment of so called mercenaries was ordered and overseen by senior officers. And they call them mercenaries now. No, not migrants that we've forcibly recruited into doing this. They're mercenaries, actually.
Well, I think that is a way to describe them. To be honest, that's way throughout most of human history would have referred to these people. To be fair,
I mean, technically, if they're being paid to do some sort of conflict work, then that technically is true. Our findings reveal allegations of brutality, with witnesses reporting migrants being stripped, robbed, beaten, and even sexually assaulted. Well, if you send migrants to do that, then that's the type of things they do. That's what they bring to countries, right? So if you send them out, I mean, I suppose that's one way to get rid of them. You want rid of the migrants? Set migrants on them. We can have some house migrants. They get to sleep in the big house, right? And we can just use them. You cannot beat me. No, but he can. It's some big giga raper, the final boss of illegal immigration. Anyway, it's been claimed that I've just read that it's been claimed that mercenaries have been unofficially employed on the border since at least 2020. The Greek Prime Minister told the BBC he was totally unaware about allegations of the use of migrants for pushbacks, while the country's authorities have not responded to a written detailed request for comment.
well, they're not really going to comment, I suppose, are they? They are obviously going to refuse to get involved at this point. But it is still quite funny. I mean, I don't want to say too much quite yet. I want to see a little bit more of what Count has to say.
Pushbacks forcing migrants and asylum seekers back across the border without due process. Well, there's no due process. You're not from here. You don't have any rights as a citizen. Bye bye. Instead of just bringing them in.
Silly. In case you wonder what that means, like in Yorkshire, that means like see you later.
And letting them be a massive drain on the system. And if there's one thing that Greece really can't afford right now, it's wasting money. Are generally considered illegal under international law. Fuck international law. It can fuck right.
Yeah, it's going to get to a point where everybody's just going to start ignoring it. In fact, many countries do. We in the UK are one of the few where our politicians are frightened beyond belief of breaking international law. Many countries do it. I mean, I suppose that's why, obviously, I don't know. I'm not getting into specifics and start upsetting people from doing it. But there are definitely examples of other countries not observing international law, while we in the UK observe it, and it's be completely to our detriment, letting in hordes of undocumented people, which we don't really need here.
Off. Claims that they were being carried out in Greece by foreign masked men were reported in 2022 by the Netherlands based news organisation Lighthouse Reports. Our own investigation, carried out in collaboration with the Consolidated Rescue Group, began last autumn when we were sent disturbing video allegedly showing migrants being mistreated by mercenaries. If you think that's bad, wait till you see what those migrants do to the natives. It was shared with us by.
Yeah, fortunately, he is correct, and like those on the far left will say that that's racist and whatnot. But I do sort of think that these people have this like warped perspective where they've been to other countries, lived in certain bubbles. They think that everybody's like what these super friendly people are in these tourist bubbles. Obviously, the tourists and want them to spend money, so they're really friendly, and they think everybody's like that all around the world. They don't go into some of these ghettos and stuff. Some of these very dangerous areas that I've seen some of these other travel YouTubers go to, and like they'll say, I'm sure there was one I was somewhere in Peru, and there was like a bullet in his room that had come in through the window in the middle of the night, doing it on the floor. You know what I mean? Like these hippy dippy middle management women that like want to increase these type of things, but do not understand the actual reality of the world. Unfortunate for them and us though, because they're the ones that are like sort of increasing this toxic empathy or suicidal empathy. I think. Not sure if I think Gad Saad, I think, who coined that term. It might not be. I think it is him, but I might potentially be
A
wrong.
smuggler who claimed to have become disgruntled with his associates. We have not been able to verify the content, but it mirrors accounts we have gathered from other independent sources. We have since pieced together information from migrants, former mercenaries, police sources, official documents, and leaked transcripts. One border guard told a disciplinary hearing they had information reported to their superiors that mercenaries had been raping female migrants. Well, they're calling them mercenaries now. They're migrants. You've just said it's too late. You let the migrants do it, and of course, what's the first thing they do? They rape. It's the first thing they do when they arrive in the country as well. It's just what they do. 2 migrants and an ex.
Yep. I mean, is that the one down Epping? I think was it. Oh, was one. Sure, it was down in Epping where he'd only been in the country maybe under 2 weeks or maybe under a week. Was it something like 4 or 5 days? I can't remember, man. He had such a short amount of time and already had approached young children. I think I'm not sure if he actually like physically harmed them or such. He was soliciting them, we'll say, in a way, that should be dealt with.
Mercenary, say ex-mercenary. They're calling them mercenaries now. They don't want to just call them migrants. Look at the little tricks they're using to try and change the language. They're not migrants. They're mercenaries. Let's just use a word that has awful bad connotations so nobody puts it on at the migrants. It's so funny because they're trying to say they're basically acknowledging that raping and robbing and torturing and killing people is bad. But they seem to make excuses whenever it's migrants doing it. Or migrants doing it, let's just change the word. They're mercenaries now. Fine, listen, there's the new words just dropped. Doctors, engineers, and mercenaries.
I mean, it depends, doesn't it, I suppose? They are fulfilling a mercenary role. It's much the same way in, like, some immigrants, we refer to them as expats. And I do think that is a genuine distinguishment from the sort of different sort of immigrants that you might end up with in certain areas. That's why ordinarily the term asylum seeker should mean somebody who is in like genuine grave danger and whatnot and is fleeing a conflict zone, such as like when they were fleeing out of Ukraine. But obviously that term has been manipulated and is almost now indistinguishable just from immigrant, I would say. There should be a distinguishment in that term. The way the world is going with this, we'll say like just immigration turned up to 11 of the people out there who get that reference, is showing that the systems are creaking under the pressure.
Including beating people until they... Oh, yeah. 2 migrants and an ex-mercenary say they saw extreme violence by both mercenaries and Greek police, including people being beaten until they passed out. A migrant says a masked man took off her daughter's nappy in the hunt for valuables. That is fucked up. But again, they're migrants. Greece has seen well over 1 million migrant arrivals since 2015, chiefly through sea crossings, but also along its land border with Turkey. This frontier runs 200 kilometres along the Evros River. It marks the outer edge of the European Union.
And that's maybe one thing I think Americans don't understand about what's happening in Europe is that each country on the surface is pretending, I suppose, to do the best thing, but they're all trying to essentially shove migrants into each other's countries. Hence why boats in France, they end up here. I mean, ordinarily, an island nation such as us should have we're like a castle. We should have a permanent moat, and yet we have surrendered that by turning a blind eye to the fact that France are helping them come here. And I understand why some of the politicians maybe not so keen to blow open that wound, and But at the same time, it kind of needs to be done. At some point, we need to address this thing with France and potentially even say, like, look, unless you sort this out, we're just going to take Calais back.
separating Greece's Evros region and the Turkish territory of East Thrace. Refugees or illegal migrants crossing the river into Greece enter a heavily militarised restricted zone dotted with watchtowers. Because I don't know if you're a history buff, but the Greeks and the Turks, they don't like each other very much. A police source in the region told...
Yeah, I will say I'm not going to get into it, but I am very, very aware of that conflict. But I'm already sort of deviated enough a little bit, so we'll continue.
Told us that mercenaries have been used to push back as many as hundreds of people a week. Cool, they're not supposed to be there. They're not supposed to be there, so they've been asked to leave. And if they're not leaving, then they're being forced to leave. That's completely fair, that's completely normal. It should be encouraged, in fact. There is no soldier, police officer, or Frontex EU border agency officer serving here in Evros who does not know that pushbacks are taking place, they added. We have found that the mercenaries are themselves migrants recruited from countries including Pakistan, Syria, and Afghanistan, and that they can be rewarded with cash and mobiles looted from other migrants, as well as papers that, in effect, allow passage through Greece. Talk about pulling the ladder up behind you. The BBC, literally, the BBC has been shown footage from 22nd June 2020.
I mean, is that not one way to deal with this, or turn the problem back in on itself? And so the migrants do start pulling the ladder up, stop the others from coming in. I mean, because you see that anyway with some of the migrants that have been in the UK now for like 10, 20 years. 10, 20 years or so. Like, they came here when it was like Britain, and they've seen it change, and they're like, whoa, stop letting in these guys. I was like trying to get away from these guys, and now you're making the nice place I came to, like the place that I came from, and I don't like it. So doing this kind of thing could potentially speed up that process and turn some of the newer people that have come here against the ones that are seeking to come here. I'm not completely against this.
In which a group of migrants who had just crossed into Evros and wanted to claim asylum were ambushed by masked men. A report into this incident by the Fundamental Rights Office, an independent investigator within Frontex, found that based on the available evidence, between 10 and 20 third country nationals had been acting under the instruction of Greek officers. I mean, again, hey, if you want to come in, well, we're going to put you to work. Like, I see no problem with that. It said they subjected, apart from all the mud.
If they are, yeah, I don't know. I know some people who might want to weigh in on the ethics of it, but in my mind, if they are a threat and they're coming here and they're doing this sort of thing, then why not put them to work like this? I mean, it's better than where they came from and the lifestyle they were living. If their claims are meant to be true about all this persecution and war and conflict and yada yada yada,
and rape and torture and theft, I do have a bit of a bit of an issue with that stuff. It said they subjected the migrants to physical and verbal abuse, including death and rape threats, intrusive and sexualised body searches, as well as beating, stabbing, restraining, and theft of personal property. The report said that the migrants were then forcibly transported back to Turkey in violation of EU human rights law. I'm sorry, but you don't have a right to be wherever the fuck you want to be all the time. You just don't. You can't just go into a country and do that, because unfortunately a lot of bad people want to get into countries, so I think countries should be extraordinarily selective about who they let in. I just think that's the way it should be. I feel that every single country on earth has that right. I feel like every community on earth has that right. Gatekeeping is a good thing.
Yeah, it's like that. It's so weird. It's as though like a lot of people don't look at how other countries operate and what happens when people from our ethnicity go to live in some of these other countries, and they are very, very much gatekeep, and you are never truly part of the community, maybe unless you've lived there like 40, 50 years. You're older than the majority of people now that's in that village, maybe. Yeah, I would say you're not treated the same in most countries, for sure, if you're an outsider.
How you preserve your culture, your history, as well as all of the hard work of your ancestors. So you don't have the, eons of building nice big statues and glorious big buildings just for some guy to come in and set it on fire and then murder a priest. That was a thing that actually happened. Look it up. That was the Notre Dame. The report said that the migrants... I've just said that. The Greek authorities have denied that any migrants from this group were found in the area on that day. This is just one of several reports by the Fundamental Rights Office investigating allegations of pushbacks involving masked foreign men over recent years. Our findings could amount to an extremely significant abuse of human rights, said Maria Gavinelli, the president of Greece's Human Rights Commission. The organisation has itself recorded more than 100 incidents of alleged forced returns in Evros, dating back to 2020. Well, who fucking cares? They shouldn't be illegally entering into the country.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Like, who cares? You're not meant to be here. Why? It seems, in a logical point, take a logical look at this. It seems absurd that we can't remove the people that come in that we don't want to. It's like, oh, they're in. Oh, we've got to live with it now. I'm like, what? It's like such a crazy time in history. I mean, at no point in human history has that ever been the case in most civilizations. This is like such a very recent thing, and I think every other culture, civilization, kingdom, empire, anything, any description how you want to talk about civilization, they would look at this. They are being completely stupid.
In the first place. While it says cases have been declining, dozens of these alleged incidents have involved non-Greek third country nationals, most recently in October 2025. In a brief exchange with the BBC in March, the Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said he was unaware of allegations about the use of mercenaries. However, he said that Greece was protecting its borders and added that European leaders were clear they would not repeat the past mistakes by allowing in a massive influx of migrants and refugees, which they absolutely shouldn't, because look how that fucking went.
Yeah, exactly. Amen. Well, then drink his tea. I'll talk. But yeah, exactly.
Practically shattered an entire fucking continent. Frontex has rejected any suggestions it turns a blind eye to rights violations, saying
that's the most annoying thing is that everybody, like on the internet, you'll always see that like whites and Europeans are the most racist, and it's like, well, why is everybody coming to our countries then? If we're so racist here, if we're such bigots, why is everybody flooding from everywhere else in the world to here? I mean, I know there's other highly sought after areas, like a lot of foreigners want to go to like Dubai, Japan, maybe China and stuff. Singapore would be another one. So it's not like the only desirable place to come and live in the world, but it seems like Europe, just as a big block, maybe except Albania, is quite attractive for most people. And I know people are going to probably mention Moldova as well, but you know, we can mention all the marginal outliers all we like, but Europe generally should be a very nice place to live, and it's unfortunately getting devastated.
It helps ensure borders are managed lawfully while supporting countries under strain. We couldn't breathe. We have spoken to 2 Syrian migrants who claim they have been forced back to Turkey across the River Evros. What's wrong with Turkey? That's your next nearest neighbouring safest country. As soon as you go out of Turkey, you're not a refugee anymore. You're not a refugee anymore. After that point, you're an economic migrant. You've went to a semi-safe country. Turkey is a little bit dodgy, you know, outside of the tourist places. Right? It is a little bit. Right, but you're in Turkey. What's wrong with Turkey? I've been to Turkey.
Yeah, I mean, also I've been to Turkey as well, to be fair. And the most annoying thing I thought, just in being in the tourist areas, is being approached constantly. Like the least shy, most overly confident salespeople I've ever been around. Going to be a bit vexing by the time I'd finished. I'm sure I was there for like 2 weeks. I'm sure it was. Might have been a week. Who knows? Either way, it felt like 2 weeks. Even if it was 1 week with just how annoying being approached constantly. But it was still, you know, nice, clean. People still broadly friendly. Going out on some of the trips in the countryside, I could tell me saying about some of the like, little settlements. I was like, oof, I wouldn't want to stranded for a year for too long. But broadly, you know, Turkey is a safe, rich, relatively rich country. Has one of the most powerful militaries in the world as well. So you're relatively safe from external threats there as well. But yeah, once like I think Count says, like Dank says, once you leave Turkey, you cease being having that status. Relatively, I would say.
Not for that, as you can tell. I went to Turkey when I was like 17, I think. I went family holiday. We went to Marmaris, right? But yeah,
same Marmaris as well. But obviously on that, and then I went out to Ephesus, Pamukkale. So didn't just stay in Marmaris.
Turkey's lovely. It's really nice. They have people that come out and harass you in the street and try and drag you in. Wait, okay, yeah, I see it now. Her family says she was unexpectedly. Oh, sorry. Amal, not her real name, showed us videos and documentation of her family in Greece where they had applied for asylum. Her family, she says, was unexpectedly detained by police in 2025 while walking through the city of Orestiada in northern Evros. They were handed to two masked men who demanded they surrender their phones and IDs before driving them to the border in a windowless white van. A further search at the river was far worse, she says. My daughter was wearing a diaper. They took it off, Amal says. She was screaming in fear. Next, she says the masked men, who now numbered roughly 7, herded them and about 20 others down a track using sticks to keep them in line.
Okay, all right. I think we've heard enough. Get them out, obviously. Yeah, we need to deal with this here in the UK as well. I'm going to leave the link for this in the description if you want to see what else Dank had to say on this issue. I think we've more or less got the gist of it though, and I've said more than enough, I think. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for dropping by. Toodaloo.